Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Recently did a video called Frequently Asked Questions, and I talked about things that had to do with the channel, questions I get asked a lot, especially about the things behind me. And I mentioned the cars across the top because 3 of those cars I've written books about. And so I mentioned the Chrysler Turbine car right here, and I mentioned I'd written a book about the Chrysler Turbine car. And as always happens, whenever I mention the Chrysler Turbine car verbally, I get at least one person who goes, "Oh, you mispronounced it. It's Turbine." Unless you wear that car on your head, because the thing on your head's called a turban, but the car would be called a turbine car. It's spelled B-I-N-E. It's Turbine. And I got that comment again, and I've gotten that comment several hundred times in response to me mentioning that over the years and 8 years of doing videos here. And the weird part about it is that it is Turbine. It's Turbine, and there's no question it's Turbine. Now, there are some places in the world where they have an alternate pronunciation of Turbine, but the point is that Turbine is not wrong. And so whenever people say, you mispronounced it, it's Turbine, people don't even bother looking at a dictionary, for instance, where the dictionary shows both. But there's other ways to figure this stuff out, but it's kind of an interesting concept to me, and this is actually, in my mind, more interesting, is the fact that I wrote a book called Chrysler's Turbine Car. And the word turbine is on the cover in the title, and it's actually red on the cover. Chrysler's Turbine Car. And the book came out in hardcover, came out in paperback. And to write the book, I interviewed as many surviving members of the crew at Chrysler that worked on these cars over the length of time that the program existed. They started in 1953, and the program wasn't disbanded until 1983. So for 30 years, they built turbine cars at Chrysler. They had a department where they actually did nothing but work on turbines. And I interviewed dozens and dozens of people who worked there on these cars. Not a single one of them ever said, "Oh, by the way, it's Turbine. It's not Turbine, it's Turbine. Turbine's a thing that goes on your head." Every single one of them who worked for Chrysler on this program, in a program that had the word in the title, referred to them as turbine engines. And the weird part is that I only started getting pushback on the pronunciation when I started putting videos up on YouTube, because the books I wrote a long time before I started doing YouTube videos. And so the thing about it is that there are people out there who either don't know that that's a correct pronunciation or they just haven't thought about it. But the strange part is that people will get all fired up and write a comment and actually say, "You're wrong. You mispronounced that word." Despite the fact that I wrote a book about it, I've written a ton of articles about them, and I, again, spoke to people who worked on them. And in fact, I jokingly said to Bill Carey, who's the guy on the cover of the book, by the way, I saw him just this past year, and I said to him, "Bill, turbine or turbine?" And he goes, Don't say turbine. It's turbine, not turbine." And I also have people say, "But Steve, it's Turbine. B-I-N-E would be bine." Yeah, the same way engine would be E-N-G-I-N-E, engine. So it's a turbine engine, I guess, following that logic, right? Well, no, it's pronounced engine. Yeah, it's also pronounced turbine. So here's the thing. You might say, "Steve, this seems like such an odd little thing to get upset about." Trust me, it's not. It's a problem, I think, that people will jump to the conclusion that somebody's mispronouncing something or doing something wrong without even thinking about it, not even the least little bit. And it would be easier to look this up than it is to write the comment. So I guess my point is, if you're going to challenge somebody and say, "I think you're mispronouncing this word over and over again. You're making a fool of yourself, mispronouncing this word," despite the fact that the word's on the cover of a book you wrote, and the word is spoken to you by dozens of people who worked on these things, you'd think they would know what they were working on. I think you should consult a dictionary first. Call me crazy, but if I want to know how a word is spelled or pronounced, I look at a dictionary. So the Oxford English Dictionary, bookmark, shows on page 681 of volume 18 that turbine has 2 pronunciations acceptable: turbine or turbine. But they are alternates, meaning that they're both correct. So turbine is not incorrect. It's just that turbine is correct also. And it's quite possible that you can have alternate pronunciations of words. That's acceptable. So Turbine or turbine, originally applied to a wheel revolving on a vertical axis and driven by a column of water falling into its interior and escaping by pipes. But then it goes on to explain that there's other ones like steam turbine, centrifugal separator used in sugar manufacture, gas turbine, for instance, first mentioned in apparently 1904 of some sort. So turbine is a correct pronunciation according to the Oxford English Dictionary. It's one of two pronunciations. And according to the dozens of people I interviewed for my book, which came out hardcover and paperback, it's also pronounced turbine. And I think there might be a distinction between people who are overseas and how they say it. I've heard some people who speak English, talking about the kind from across the ocean, who say that turbine is how they say it, which is fine. Again, it's an alternate pronunciation. You guys also call flashlights torches, trunks boots, and elevators lifts. But I'm not wrong to call them elevators, trunks, or flashlights. So that's the thing. But I know you're saying, Steve, don't tell me that you fired up the lights and the camera and the microphone, and all you've got is the dictionary and the fact that you say you spoke to all these people, which I did, when there must be some other way to settle this. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is why this so annoys me, is that if you go back and watch the actual films put out by Chrysler to promote the Chrysler Turbine car, these are the actual promotional films they put out. And you can find them on YouTube. There are dozens of them. So you go back and you find a film, for instance, shot in 1962, where the narrator says, check out the gas turbine engine.
Where a hearty group of press representatives are on hand to witness the start of a historic coast-to-coast run of a modified 1962 Dodge, powered by a gas turbine engine.
Oh, maybe he mispronounced it. Is it possible he mispronounced it? I wonder if he said the word again anywhere in that promotional video.
Let's join them for this trip in a turbine.
And in case you're curious, Chrysler spent millions of dollars developing the car. They spent millions of dollars promoting the car. They shot promotional films, which they distributed widely. It's highly unlikely that their well-paid announcer is mispronouncing the product that is in the film. And you might say, Steve, that's just one film. Are there more? Why, yes, there are. Boom.
On August 25th, 1963, a Chrysler Turbine car left Detroit for Geneva, Switzerland.
And that video is telling about how the turbine car went to Europe by way of Switzerland. And by the way, it got to fly there. It flew there in an airplane. But wait, what if the announcer had simply gotten it wrong? Did he use the word again in that film? Why, yes, he did.
It was the first time a Chrysler Turbine automobile ever left the United States.
And he points out that the turbine car went to Europe by way of Geneva, and the turbine car was the first time a Chrysler turbine automobile had been to Europe. Again, whether Chrysler would put out a promotional film where the announcer, who's paid to announce because he's got a great voice and great diction, the idea that he'd horribly mispronounce the product in the film seems a little strange to me. Steve, are there other films where this has happened? Why, yes, there is. There's the one where it's just promoting the car itself and talks about this being the first American-built gas turbine engine powered car in a production line automobile. Here you go.
Chrysler Corporation announced the development and successful road testing of the first American-built gas turbine engine in a production line automobile.
Oh, maybe he got it wrong? Did he say the word again in that film? Why, yes, he did.
And resulted in a major breakthrough in turbine power.
So my point is that there are words in the English language, and probably in other languages too, that have more than one way to pronounce them that are considered and accepted as correct. And the notion that the word Turbine, turbine, can also be pronounced turbine, does not make the pronunciation of turbine incorrect. So yes, there is a thing that someone can wear on their head called a turban, but that's spelled differently though. And so I don't know if there's any other pronunciations of that word, but the point is that yes, one of the two pronunciations of turban sounds like the thing you wear on your head, but it is also a type of engine, as in a turbine engine. And again, if you think that that is wrong, you are disagreeing with the dictionaries. You are disagreeing with all the people who worked on the cars and built them. And you are disagreeing with the corporation itself that spent millions and millions of dollars developing these cars over a 30-year period. And you're suggesting that they mispronounced the word the entire time, including all of the promotional materials where the word is spoken. That's crazy. So, I think we've learned something today, I hope. If nothing else, I've underscored it. And that is the word turban, when I say it like that, is being said correctly. If you'd like to pronounce it the other way, knock yourself out. I won't say you're wrong for saying turbine, and you shouldn't say I'm wrong for saying turban, because I'm not. You have no idea how long I wanted to make this video. And so, by the way, if you're inclined to comment in the future and say, Steve, you mispronounced it, it's not funny anymore. It wasn't funny the first time, and you're wrong to say that. I'm not mispronouncing it. It is, in fact, turban. And I should know. I wrote the book on them. So there you go. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law.
A truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery while on a detour.